Wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be able to be here with Jeff Warschauer, who I'm sheltering in place, with whom I'm sheltering in place. So it's lucky to have my wonderful musical partner with me. And thank you, Ilana, for making this possible. This has been a Herculean effort, I believe. Oh, I wanted to be able to see her.
Okay.
Thank you, Deborah Strauss. It's wonderful to welcome you to the show.
I wanted to be able to see, yes, I want to be able to see some people. I'll keep an eye on being in the frame, that's fine.
Okay.
So we're going to start not with something from Beregovski, but with something from the repertoire of Leon Schwartz. And Leon Schwartz was born in 1901 in the Bukovina. He died, I believe, in 1989. And this is one of his pieces that I've learned from his repertoire, both his singing repertoire and his playing repertoire. He sang this piece and he also played this piece. It's called Dem Rebn. And I think for our launch, Michael sang it for us, which was wonderful. And the reason that we're starting with it is because it really influences the way that I play all of these Nigunim. Really the way I play everything, but in particular these Beregovski Nigunim have a big influence that comes from how I heard Leon singing and his playing, how they interact with each other, how they influence each other. So we're going to start with that. And this is going to be a big G fest, because I think that we're starting with a piece in G that sort of plays with the Freylekhs and the minor. And then we're going to do the Beregovski pieces that Ilana assigned to us, which were a fabulous collection of pieces. I feel like we hit the jackpot with them. And we are going to play them in the Beregovski transcription keys, mostly because they sound good in those keys.
We tried other keys.
We tried other keys, but they sound good.
They're great on fiddle.
So you're going to hear a lot of G. Dem Rebn from the repertoire of Leon Schwartz.
Check our tuning.
So that's such a great Leon piece, including this great example. Anyone who knows the piece, how many of you know this piece already? Some of you do. It's a wonderful piece. He plays it beautifully. He sings it beautifully, and
or he says, Deborah, you taught me that piece.
yes, it's a great piece, including that last note, ya da da da. And that's where you can use the moving up on a note as opposed to moving down on a note for good, not evil.
Right.
Yai, die, 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 yai. And then he holds it out the longest note possibly that you could ever imagine. Wonderful. So we're going to bring over our music stand.
Okay, I'm just going to say one quick thing.
Absolutely.
So Deborah was talking about Leon of blessed memory and his singing as being so important to her, the way she learned to play, and as well as his playing. And one thing I do want to say about Deborah is she grew up in a family that was immersed in cantoral music. Father was a synagogue president, and she went to shul all the time with him and heard real old school cantors all the time from the tiniest age. And I think that you can really hear that in her playing.
Yeah, I think that's actually, thank you for mentioning that,
Yeah.
actually, because Leon has been such a big influence, and that's sort of coming out of one part of my brain and heart. And another part of my brain and heart is really the way I grew up. I grew up with some amazing, particularly Polish-born chazanim. And from when I was the tiniest little kid, this was my soundscape, and I spent a lot of time in shul listening to them, both speaking in English, speaking in Yiddish, and of course singing. And what I'm told, which I've said to some of you before, is that I actually was really into it, and I was very patient and attentive and really connected to it, and I still hear it in my head. And I think that those things really inform, among other things, but those things really inform the way I approach this music, and they certainly approach the way, they affect the way I approach these Beregovski Nigunim, these Tish-Nigunim. And we're gonna start out with number 117. And one of the interesting things is playing around with how fast or slow the piece is. There's a metronome marking. When these are recorded for archival purposes, perhaps I'll play according to that metronome marking. But actually, one of the ways to make it your own and to speak to yourself is to play around with what that might mean. So here's one which is at, I think 86, and
88, I guess.
86 or 88, can't quite see. And we play it at, well, I'm not sure what we're going to play it, in a jaunty style.
And that's true for a lot of Beregovski and other I mean, it depends on the instrumentation and your mood and all of that. A lot of times you'll try the tempo, but it's not quite right for you. So.
And it's not quite right for you or for your instrumentation. We find that in certain pieces, we have to take things, well, either a little bit faster because it's the two of us, or you'll find in some situations that we've actually slowed it down.
Right.
This is a very interesting piece because it really plays around with a lot of accidentals, with is it Freylekhs, is it minor, and is it right, is it wrong? We don't know, but we've chosen notes that we like. Here we go. Great tune. On my little line down, I put in a G flat instead of a G natural.
Yeah, and I played the wrong chord. Wrong chord. We're really having fun playing around with these. And of course, when you're playing them by yourself, it's one thing. And then when you're adding the harmony, it's another thing. And it's just been really fun to be working these out together. We have number 117A also. Which brings up a lot of questions. So for example, talking about the possibility of copying or transcription errors. I mean, here's the same tune basically, starting out with a very sort of Freylekhs da 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 da, but then it goes yam bam bam ba ba ba. So it's basically the same tune, but instead of being in Freylekhs or a havaraba, it's in minor. And was that right, or did they just sort of forget? I mean, they were in a rush. She was in a rush. We don't really know, but it does funny things to the tune. It's very cool, and it just brings up a lot of questions.
So here we go. This is 117A. Well, the 117 is called Nigun, and this is called Freylekhs. Interesting, right? Now, Ilana, do we take questions and comments at the end or as we're going along?
Whichever you prefer. Nobody's put any questions in, but do you want to, anybody, any questions at this point? Okay,
so we'll wait and go on, and then we can have a chat at the end. This next one, this is Niggin 54. And this is wonderfully interesting because it does not have even phrases. It has 5-bar phrase in the A section, and then in the C section, it has a 9-bar phrase. So it almost feels like it's a pachtanz, but chas v'sholom, we should do a pachtanz to it because the dancers would be very, very upset.
It's more like a pachpatanz.
A pachpatanz?
Yeah, because it doesn't fit.
Because it doesn't fit, okay. But we played around a little bit with making it even, but it doesn't feel as nice. And it actually sounds quite nice in this uneven framework and sort of as something sung, or, you know, a lot of times when someone's singing and they take a breath and they drop a bar or half a beat, or, you know, it's actually what makes something really juicy and delicious. So we're playing it as written with the irregular phrase lengths.
Right. And it starts out like a very, 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 very popular song called Hail No Dushain Medela, but then immediately it goes somewhere else. Tempo?
Let's see. Now this is one, this says quarter note equals 66, but I think that we take it a little bit faster.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
So a sweet tune. I like the irregular bars, actually. I like the irregular sections. Has someone talked maybe a lot about the fact that most of these that we get are A, B, C, B? Have you guys been talking about that a lot in these sessions?
Not a lot. It's been mentioned from time to time.
So it's a very interesting thing, and I don't know if you want to describe this. It's very common in Hasidic type repertoire to have this A, A, B, B, C, C, B, B. And maybe Jeff wants to explain a couple of reasons why that might be.
So A, B, C, B, so it's one section followed by a different section, followed by a third different section, and then you go back to the second section. So A, B, C, B. And there are two explanations I've heard, and they're both very Hasidic. These are sort of a Hasidic thing. And one is that Hashem's name, God's name, is written as Yud He Vav He. So there you go. A, B, C, B, except it's Yud He Vav He, or whereas people more traditionally observant than I would say Yud K Vav K. And then the other one, which we learned from the eminent Chazan and musicologist Eli Schleifer, is that it's very Hasidic also, that you start off existence on your regular level, and as you're singing in the you're rising and rising and rising. So you go on your regular level, and that's the A section. The B section, you rise up a little bit, right? Spiritually, emotionally. C, you go to the heights that you are capable of. So in the C section, you're really ecstatic, but since we're just mere humans and not approaching the divine, we can't stand to be there for so long because we would go nuts, literally. So we have to go back down to the B, but we don't descend all the way to the A.
So you're somewhat elevated.
So you're somewhat elevated at a level that you can maintain.
And I love that idea. With that in mind, let's play it one more time.
Okay.
Let's play it one more time because we're going to get to The last two are actually in 3, and that's a little bit of a different feel.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, we'll play it one more
Ilana,
time.
how much time do we have?
As long as you want.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you have the shawl for? Just
Well, at least 2 more years. I just signed a contract.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
B section. Okay, C section, start feeling ecstatic.
Nice little tune. The last two are probably my favorites. This next one is Tish-Nignim number 20, and it has a couple of fermatas in it, and then a couple of something that looks like a fermata without the dot in it.
So fermata means
An elongated
hold
note, a
and
held note. So we're gonna do those. And then the ones that are missing the dot, so they're sort of like, are they a fermata or are they something that we don't know about? And we're gonna actually do a little research, particularly Jeff was saying from some of our
FSU, former Soviet Union friends. Maybe this is a
there's
notational
something
thing.
special, or maybe it just is a dot that's missing.
Although the other dots are so purposeful. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Or
We don't
maybe
know.
it's just
So-
hold the note just a little bit. I don't really know.
Yeah, but that's another sign. So
Yeah.
we don't know. The other thing that's sort of interesting about this is there are a lot of little notes, little triplets, and little eighth notes, and they don't always sound good, you know. And this is something I'm sure that a lot of people have been talking about over this month. Is if you play it exactly as written, it doesn't necessarily sound like you're really making music or that you're singing with your instrument.
But they
dot,
work.
dot, dot.
They work if you're singing.
That's okay. But may I finish my
Oh,
sentence
sorry.
first?
Excuse me. Yeah.
The end of my sentence was simply that. Oh dear, now I've forgotten. Oh, that I leave them out. That I leave some of them out because they actually don't feel so comfortable on the instrument. But as Jeff so aptly said, when you sing them, and we're going to see this in an example a little bit later that we have a recorded example of, the sung version actually includes some of these things, and you hear how they might work, and you want to maybe either draw on the sung version or choose to leave them out and do something else. And that's
Right.
one of the great joys of working with this material.
Right. So if one sings through them, for me anyway, they make perfect sense as a singer to sing.
Oh, that's interesting,
Yeah,
because they don't make sense to me.
Right. That's what I was trying to say when I interrupted you.
Sorry.
No. I should apologize.
You should apologize.
I should apologize.
You should apologize.
I was wrong. You were right.
I should apologize.
on with the music.
What, are we talking too much?
So this one is in 3, which is really, really lovely. And the metronome is at 112, but we're actually doing a couple of things. We're going to play it more slowly. And then in certain sections, we're going to pick up the tempo a little bit. And so there's a little bit of pull and push and pull with how we're working on playing this, including the fermatas, which we are going to use at least when they really have a dot. Is that a good one?
It's such a gorgeous tone.
Okay. From Sandra Lehman. I'm curious if you tried.
Whoops, let's look at the chat.
Any of these without fiddle, as just solo fiddle without accompaniment, since they were sung without
Yeah,
instruments.
Yes. I actually started out working on my own with them, and really enjoy them that way. And actually that's an important way for us to approach them. But I'm in the same apartment with him, and it's awfully fun to have the guitar too. So it's a joy for me to be able to have the guitar with it.
I just so you know, I didn't lobby.
Yes, sung without any instrumental accompaniment. It's a really excellent point, and actually a whole nother, if I were to approach this again, maybe I would do them just by themselves. But I'm really enjoying sort of the process of turning this into pieces that we might perform together. But I actually played them a lot by myself before I worked with Jeff. So a lot of that kind of vocal quality, I think, is coming, I hope, coming through, even though Jeff is already obviously adding something that makes it quite different.
Did you try playing that piece at all without the fermaters, or?
Oh, you know, or in the spots where it has these sort of fermatas, adding them in. I'd like to play it one more time, actually.
Sure.
Let's play it one more time. Is that okay, Ilana?
It's fine, but I was actually also going to ask if maybe Jeff could sing it once, just to give an example of the places where instrumentally and vocally it's a little
great. That would be awesome.
If you don't mind, Deborah.
But I'm going to do it a little lower. Yeah.
He'll do it in a different key.
I mean, I didn't practice it really, but. You don't play all of those, right?
I don't.
But they sing really easily.
I don't.
Yeah.
Can I just also ask, I know it's interrupting, but we do have Team Lubavitch here today. And I'm wondering if they...
So who's from Chabad?
We're going to have...
Oh, Team Lubavitch. Yes. Do you have any insight? And by the way, I love Chabad Nigunim. When we're in Brooklyn, we live really near Crown Heights. So like, you know, we can pick up the pirate radio station. We're so close. So yeah. So anything you want to say, of course, we want to hear, but also, Ilana, you were asking about the form, the ABCB form, I think specifically.
Yes, I think you may have come in just at that point, because you were saying it was the Yud Vav, the structure.
The Yud K Vav K structure of Hasidic Nigunim, plus the idea that you begin at one level, you go to the B section, you rise up a little bit, you go to the C section, you rise up even more, but you can't maintain life at that level. So you go back down closer to quote unquote normal existence, but not all the way down to the beginning. So I don't know, Ilana, maybe you want to unmute Team Lubavitch. Love that name.
Hi, sorry, my kids changed the name of my name's David Jaffe.
Hi, David.
Hello.
I spent 4 hours today listening, trying to catch up, and I just couldn't be torn away from the computer screen. I do recognize quite a few of the Nigunim. A lot of them are not Chabad. I recognize a few Chabad Nigunim, but it's just beautiful to hear some of these Nigunim being played out on a fiddle, on a violin, rather than being sung, but also to hear such a wide variety of people getting really into it and being moved by these amazing songs. And a nigun, by definition, means from the soul rather than from the head. It's music of the heart without words.
Beautifully,
Thank you.
beautifully said. That's exactly how I think we all feel, and we're so grateful to have this collection and other collections for us to learn from. It's so vitally important.
And a little geography here. I mean, there's sort of two branches, if I understand correctly, in Chabad Nigunim. One is the White Russian branch of the Nigunim, but also there's Nikolaev. And these collections, if I remember correctly, not the Kisselgoff, but a lot of the Beregovski stuff and the Ansky were done much further south in the Ukraine. And so there might be some Nikolaev style Chabad stuff in there, but I wonder if any of those, the more White Russian ones got into the collection.
Some of the original ones, like Stavia Pitu, I heard played. And some of the early Nikolaev Nigunim are there. A lot of the recent ones, of course, were only composed after this collection was put together.
Right, okay.
So I guess, Ilana, because of time constraints, we should go on to the last one.
As you no, I mean, if you were going to play that one again, just to give the flavor, I think we'd all enjoy it.
Let's play it one more time.
Oh, okay.
But I'm still going to play it with Jeff. I was thinking of playing it by myself, but...
To answer the question about dance, this style is really, it's really a Tish-Nigin, and just because it's in a three or a waltz, I mean, that style of three were and are very, very, very common for Tish-Nigunim and things that are definitely not meant to be danced to. So.
Okay, did you want us in this?
Oh, no.
I like seeing everybody when I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, I think when we stop talking, maybe, I don't know. Let's see.
What just went out?
Wait, I can do that.
Yeah. Yay, there they are. Okay. It just makes me feel happy.
Should we check our tuning this one? Oh, sorry.
Let's leave out the fermatas.
Yeah.
We're going to leave out the fermatas. Because, let's just try something a little different, or something with a little bit of a breath, but not a real fermata.
I'll follow you.
Funny.
Well, yeah, it's beautiful. I have to say, I miss the fermati. I mean, because that sounded like the dance tune, like the last waltz that you play, like, as most of the people have left and you're waiting for them to bench, but there's a couple of people who still want to dance. it just sounded like, it's a beautiful waltz, but it really sounded like a singing
interesting, with the fermata. That's
they were
really
sort of like saying, we're not dancing to this, you know, it was nice. Okay.
Okay, so we have one more niggin. It's niggin number 87. Do you want to play a little bit of the vocal recording, or have we run out of time and we can put it up somewhere else?
Don't worry about the time. It's our show. We can do what we like.
So this is, oh, sorry, Ilana. So this is from, you know, somehow we managed to get all the discs from Vernadsky. It was really hook and crook, and we had friends from Kiev going there and buying them and bringing them to places where we were, Krakow or whatever. It was really something, but we managed to get them. And I have not gone through them as wonderfully as Ilana and your whole crew have. So there are only some that I know, you know, actually this one particularly, where we found the whole audio recording. And I don't know, Ilana, do you have the whole audio recording of this 87? Because it really was there's a 30 seconds that is on that page, but that page is just a teaser.
Hang on, do you remember which CD number it was on?
It was number 4, but it's not the 30-second teaser, it's the whole like 2 minutes or whatever. Anyway, you can play it.
But we have it, and we thought it would be nice to hear at least a little bit of this.
But one quick thing is, so talking about copying errors, there's just one ridiculously wrong note, and we were struggling with it. We were good looking. No, that cannot be a B natural. I mean, it just sounds like crap.
But it's so very much B natural.
Yeah, it's written like.
So
really,
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's wrong. I would say it's probably wrong.
Well, it's probably wrong. Except then we listen to the recording, and
then he doesn't sing it.
It's completely wrong. So
he doesn't sing it.
To know when you struggle with these things, it really might just be a copying error or something. Okay, let's hear some.
Let me give it a go. Here we go.
Awesome, right? Really amazing. Wow, is right. Okay, so we're going to play it. I didn't study his vocal recording very closely, so this is definitely a, you know, early days, but it's a real process, a work in process, and but it's a gem of a tune. It's really a gem of a tune.
Great tune.
Such a great tune. And Ilana, we've really got to thank you for doing all of this incredible work. And it's such a pleasure to be working on these 5 tunes. And I do feel like I hit the jackpot. But I heard from you earlier that everybody feels that way. So that's very cool.
It seems like that. Me and Rabbi were just having this little discussion about the Esnesich.
Wait.
Exactly.
It jumps right out at you. But then again, like the other one, like
diverts.
and Meadow, then it goes somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's related. But yeah, it definitely. Did you want to play this one?
Yeah, maybe we'll end with one tune from my childhood. And actually, Patty Farrell is here, and he played this tune with me on our CD. Wish that I could pull him out and have him be right here playing with us, and Sveta is here. But this is a Vishomru, this is a Shabbos melody that I grew up hearing, and that I play as Nigun. And we're actually switching keys. We're actually going to go into D.
What an unusual switch. Let's go. This Bashomu, by the way, is not really the the contemporary generation doesn't really know it. But when I mention it, I sang it for because you learned it from your father.
I learned it from my father, who learned it as a child. Exactly.
And my teacher, Noach Shal, great, the world-class expert on Chazanut and synagogue melody. He said, yeah, that's the one they used to teach to all the kids in my generation. So his generation was about her father's.
My father's generation.
But you never hear it except from you.
So thank you, everybody. I don't know if we leave it open to have things to talk about or questions or just to enjoy being together for a minute. Thank you for having the extra long time. I know that we went on, and you know, we could still go on because that's how we all feel about these tunes. We could just have one tune and discuss it for hours as we all do.
We do have a question here from Uri. He wants to know whether you can explain in a bit more detail about how Leon Schwartz's playing and singing influenced your playing.
What's his playing? It's his singing and it's his speaking. So if you hear some of even on the commercial recording, like in A Different World, then he'll have a little bit of his speaking, his singing, and then his playing. Wow, it's a really great question. It's a really deep question. Some of it is visceral. Some of it is just being so involved in it and listening, you know, with headphones and trying to like just embody him as much as possible. And some of it has so much to do with the phrasing and with the, it's not even just the vocabulary, it's the cadences. It's how the cadences work. It's how the gestures work. And I'm working on a paper now that actually is talking about this and is talking about gestures in terms of teeny tiny movements. So I'm not talking necessarily about the long line, but one little tiny small phrase that's just a yai yai. It's just that much. That's gestural, and that I hear in his language, in his singing, in his playing. And that's an on one foot answer to something that's kind of a life process. So I hope that's helpful.
Could I add one thing?
Sure.
And this is not technical, and I think you're probably asking for something fairly detailed and technical. But one thing that's sort of a meta look at it is that those of us who knew, I didn't know Leon well, but I did hang out with him, and he was extremely funny in a dry way, and he was also sweet. He was one of the sweetest people you would ever meet, and I think that just shows his whole approach is it's about sweetness, in his playing. So that might have something to do with it. I hear that in Deborah's too.
Thanks. I just asked because I'm curious. Sorry, I just wanted to say I didn't need any technical details. I'm just super curious about this, and that piece is beautiful. And I remember when you taught it to us, you also played his recording and you played his speech. And, I've tried to internalize some of it back then, but I was wondering, a little bit more of the detail, which you've given, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because, I'm a pretty practical person actually, but there's a way in which there's something impractical about this. There's a way in which it's really something on the feeling realm. And I listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that somehow just, you try to channel it. And that's kind of maybe a gooey way of saying it, but that's what it feels like. And we're very lucky, especially when we have video and we have speech and we have singing and we have playing. So we're very fortunate.
One other thing that occurs to me is Leon really held classical music as a very high value, which is true for a lot of the fiddlers, but maybe not all of them, especially in the contemporary area. And you're someone who's classically trained as well, as are a lot of fiddlers. And maybe there was a point of a relationship there too, which was, he really talked about.
We did, and he studied.
And he studied. He would have been in a different time.
But there's, our friend Stu Brotman talks about how the percentages, I don't know how he puts it, like 60% of the playing really does come from sort of a Western classical tradition. And then there's that 40% that's just something completely other. Yeah. So it's that, and yet and Leon talked about that a lot. And you hear that in a lot of his playing and the way he talks about it. But there's also something that's just so vocal and so Yiddishlich, that's something completely different, like in a different world, right? As he says.
And as Michael says, he's also very Bukaviner,
Yeah, also.
Jika wants to know, can we get to read your paper somewhere?
Oh, Alavai, I hope so. Send me email. I'm supposed to write this over this next month. And so send me emails and make sure, with lashes that say, make sure you do it, because you really need to do it, because it's at that scary moment where I have all of these ideas out there, but I haven't actually put it into something people could read, and I need to do that. So it's a scary moment. So everyone's support is welcome.
Right. So can we get to read your paper somewhere? Yes, after she writes it.
After I write it.
What else?
It came from Yiddish Summer Weimar from the symposium, and they're putting a book out with different papers from that symposium. And it used to be a talk. Yay! Thank you. Yeah, behind me, underneath me, over me. I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I'm saying it right now. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to, I'm going to do it. Anyway, it's so great to be with all of you and to see all of your faces and Ilana for doing this. I don't know anyone else who could have put together such an endeavor. It really is.
Really. And thank you everyone for your very kind comments and sweet comments. Thanks so much. It's really,
I'd like to unmute everybody just for a second, just so they can all applaud and cheer a little bit.
Oh.
God bless you all.
Bravo! Bravo!
Hey.
Stay